Hello and welcome to the Justin Hamilton podcast. We have Wil Anderson back to have one of our, I don't know what you would call it, maybe just a catch up. It's a Ando Hammo catch up. And once again, we dig into all sorts of things. Enjoy if you are watching the YouTube clip of this. At some point, I record via Zoom. And I don't know what happened. I've clicked something, which means that if I move, the camera suddenly looks for the nearest closest face. Actually, if you're on YouTube now, I'll do it now. So if I move out, I didn't do it. God damn it. This is always the way, isn't it? Let's try it one more time. I'm not gonna edit any of this out. I'm gonna move again. There we go. There we go. For those of you on YouTube, you see it moves and looks for the nearest face, and the nearest face is a big poster of David Bowie behind me. So I did not know that I had clicked it, and Will certainly didn't either. And right towards the end, enjoy his reaction to it. It's very funny. Anyway, maybe I'll just keep it on and see who else I can take by surprise. Before we go any further, a big shout out to our sponsor, Wonder Pies, who sponsored us for the rest of this year. Wonder Pies make the most delicious pastries that you can find in Australia, and you can buy them online, or if you're in Victoria, you can go to one of their outlets. Go to wonderpies.com.au and you will be able to find pastries that suit you. And also, as a vegetarian slash anyone who's a vegan, you will have some delicious options for you as well. What else did I want to say? A quick shout out to everyone who came to see my solo show in Brisbane last week. I had an absolute ball. It was such a good time, and it was not just a fun show and a fun run of gigs with the Good Chat people in Brisbane and going up to Cairns. I love that gig as well. But it was great to meet a lot of you face to face for the first time, or to reacquaint ourselves after all these years. So thank you once again, and hopefully I'll be back up in Brisbane soon. I loved it, had a brilliant run, and yeah, keen to get back there ASAP. Also, just letting you know, on Substack, you can find the new memoir that I'm writing, One Foot in the Spotlight. The next chapter for that is coming out soon. I've got stuff that I'm working towards before Christmas. So the next chapter is ready for that, and there should be another free chapter, the blog series, Dispatches from the Fury Road. So if you would like to head to Substack, you can sign up, and maybe it'd make a nice birthday present for someone who likes my writing. I don't know. And then, of course, over at Patreon, you can get ad-free versions of this podcast. You can get access to live shows that I have filmed this year, and a whole lot of free podcasts as well. So if you are interested in any of that, the audio side of things or the writing side of things, head to my website, justinhamilton.com.au, and click on stuff, and you will find everything that you're looking for there. Okay, I'll pop by at the end of this podcast just to let you know what's happening towards the end of this year. And then, yeah, there's a lot still coming up. But for now, let's bring in Ando. Sorry, I was a little bit late this morning, but I've been on the road for 10 days gigging, which might be the longest I've been on the road gigging all at once for a while. And I'd forgotten that when you get home to your bed, you are tired.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, what sort of tired? Tell me about that.
I reckon it is, so I did a cruise. I did the final cruise that that our friend Kelly Jamola and her crew have been booking for a while, and that bed that I was in, it was a double bed, but it's really two single beds put together, and all it takes at this age is a tiny little dip, the tiniest of little dips, and you roll into it, and you're done. You're physically done for the next 3 days.
Yeah, I know what you mean about like how important. I mean, they say that sleep is super important when it comes to your health and your mental health anyway, right?
Yeah.
But that idea of how your sleeping conditions can be so affected by other external factors, like, sleeping in an unusual bed. That's one of the things that, with our job being away from home so often, I had a friend of mine recently say to me, they just said, "You're away from home so often. Do you ever
Mm.
just like crave staying at home and, being in the same place and getting your routines going?" And I said, it is the routines that is the hardest thing
It's the
to
hardest.
hold on to.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to go back to Kiza, which is the um, kind of adult, like, I don't know, rehab gym, like physio gym.
Yeah.
I always said it was the sort of place where you can do your workouts in the clothes that you wore into the gym. You're not going to sweat
Right.
so much that you're
Yeah.
going to feel gross on the way out. They do provide a towel that you're meant to wipe down your machines,
Yeah.
but you're never sweating enough that you need to wipe down any of the machines. You can give them a polish, but
Yeah.
you're not wiping any sweat off them. And
Yeah.
but one of the toughest things about that is that I've been looking at my schedule, going, well, I could go and like, join up to this program, this monthly thing, but I'd be here for like, I get like 1 month of being able to go 2 or 3 times a week. And then I'm from mid-January through to the end of like April, really, I'm away. And,
Right.
so just things like that, trying to get a rhythm together for your health
Yeah.
and your life, when you eat, what you eat, how often you exercise,
Yeah.
how regularly you sleep. I mean, I know these are things that everybody has challenges to, and different things that affect them, kids, life, etc. But there is something that comes with the life of the touring stand-up comedian
Yeah.
that affects, I think, also affects those things more and more as you age. I mean, obviously when you're young, there's like a great joy to being out on the road and
Yeah.
drinking and partying and having fun and like doing shows and all those sort of things. But as you get older, just that idea of sleeping in an uncomfortable bed, you're like, I hope these gigs are good, because I'm not going to be able to walk properly for a week afterwards.
Yeah, and I was lucky. So I finally went and performed in Good Chat Comedy up in Brisbane,
Well, hang on.
and
Before we get to that, can we do
mm,
the like? I'm interested in the cruise. Did you say it was the last of the cruises that they are doing?
so yes. So what's happened is P&O has been bought out by an American company, and they're going to be
Uh-huh.
taking charge of the bookings, etc. So I think they have their staple of comedians, but our friend Kelly, who has been booking it for ages and really takes a lot of care with who she puts on and how the shows run, etc. Their contract is coming to an end, and I was always the cruises did not feel like they were for me. I always was a bit not judgmental, but not the kind of place that I would thrive. And I've performed at 3 cruises now. And the first one, Kelly taught me into it, and she put me on a cruise out of Melbourne with Limo and Katrina Davidson and Johnny Katz and just a whole bunch of people I like. And I have to say, it was brilliant. It was
Mm.
so good. And I had totally underestimated it. And I had a really good time. And you have to do a Q&A at one point. And I remember specifically at this Q&A, this older gentleman stood up and he pointed to me. And at the time, I was doing a Barbie Oppenheimer mushroom lady routine. And
Uh-huh.
he pointed to me and he said, I really enjoyed that particular routine. And it got a round of applause in the audience. And then he said to me, would you explain to me how you came up with that? And Limo burst out laughing because he could see by my face that I was
Yeah.
like, yes, this is a question
Yes.
I've been
I've
waiting for
always been
ever.
wanted to ask this question.
I would love to. And
Yeah.
I
Do
could,
you have an hour and a half? The routine goes for 8 minutes, but I can give you 80 minutes of how I came up with it.
anyway, let me put it this way. So when I was
Yeah.
young, I went and saw the
Firstly, you
because I
have to
love
watch the
Guy
movie
Pearce.
Oppenheimer. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Firstly, let's just watch Barbie and Oppenheimer first. Now, I'm going to run you through this mushroom lady thing. Then we'll get to how I put it all together.
I was pumped. And it was great. And then about 8 months later, I did one out of Sydney, and it was what I thought cruises would be like, and it was
Uh-huh.
horrific. And it's fascinating to look back on it because at the time, um, I didn't realize that in the moment, but at that specific window of time, I had just discovered that a good friend of mine's cancer was terminal, and I'd been erroneously, even though I didn't know it at the time, given an $8,000 tax bill.
Mm,
And I reckon the gig out of Sydney, so that first one was out of Melbourne, this one was out of Sydney. The Sydney one is notoriously an up and down kind of gig. And I reckon my vibe was wrong. So, you know, I was smiling, I was saying things,
yeah.
but my vibe was not there.
Well, isn't that interesting though? I was musing on this during the week, which is how much timing has to do with our experience of
Yes,
things.
yes,
And so like to like reference a different friend who's suffering an illness without going into the details too much out of respect for their privacy. In the last couple of weeks, I've traveled to see somebody who's not doing well.
yeah,
And, part of the reason that I traveled was that people close to them were saying, like things are getting pretty bad. You might want to make a visit. And so I did. And on the first day I was there, the truth of it is that they were feeling quite good and were able to do things and engage. And, you wouldn't have necessarily known that they were sick if you'd landed on that day. And
right.
yet the next day, they were desperately ill and really suffering from what they were going through. And so if you'd landed on that day, you would have been like, oh, okay, yes, I can absolutely see, this is what the story is. And it's very much the same with what your experience of this cruise is. That
Mm,
if your second experience had been your first experience, you might not have had a second experience,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Because it
And
would have
so
ticked all the
often, like,
boxes.
right?
Yeah,
So often when we think something is bad or whatever, that we don't
yeah,
try it again, it's because our first experience of the thing, we just happen to, it might be that thing of it's only bad 1 out of 10 times, but
yeah.
you just happened
To
to
hit.
hit on the one where it was bad. And like, luckily with this cruise situation, you already seen it be good. So when
Yeah,
it was bad, it wasn't so bad that it was bad.
yeah, but it was pretty bad. And
Because you also stuck on this is
you're
I was
stuck on
talking
the
to
boat.
I was talking to our friend Bart, who does a lot of the cruises recently, and he was talking about how much he loves doing them, like,
Yeah,
and how he loves not just the gigs themselves, but the whole idea of a cruise. And as he explained it to me, a lot of the time these cruises are good, affordable ways for working class people to have a holiday,
yes,
particularly working class families to have a holiday. You can pay this set fee, drink, eat. You've got a budget. You kind of pay it all up front. There's areas for the kids to be able to play while you can have a good time. All the entertainment is provided. And then he was talking about the idea that there's now themed ones as well. So, like, Weezer will do a cruise where it's all bands like Weezer, or there'll be
right.
like a podcast cruise where it's all, people from related podcasts or whatever. And it's essentially like a convention at sea almost, or
Yeah,
something like that. And so he was singing the praises of all these cruises. But the thing that I kept coming back to was like, yes, but you are trapped on board with your audience, which is the one
yes.
hurdle that I find it most difficult to get over.
And the problem is that you're tall, so you're going to be
Mm.
seen. I'm a little fella. I can kind of dart in and out, put on a little hat. I can hide in corners, kind of thing. But it
Yeah.
was it was so funny because it was they were this one, cruise out of Sydney was honestly the worst gigs I'd had in like 10 years.
Okay. Yeah.
And that, and everything that kind of went wrong could go wrong. Like even in the first one, where the first gig was actually fine, but I
Mm,
asked them to give me a light at 30. I was meant to do 35, and I saw the light, and I got off, and the woman running it said, "You just did 22 minutes," and I was like,
mm,
"What?" And I'd obviously seen someone's phone or their watch had
mm.
caught the
Just
light.
there is a point at some like in one of those gigs where you're looking for any light. I saw a light. It
No,
might have been the light at the end of the tunnel,
yeah,
but I certainly saw a light of some kind.
but I have to say
I
the
may
first
have
one,
been having a stroke. I think
right?
I may have
I'll get
developed
going.
performance epilepsy, but I definitely saw a light.
But the first one was the best one. So I just kind of went, oh, I didn't think this was the best gig of
Uh,
my life, but I thought, wow, this is going quickly. Anyway, so then I was going up to do good chat comedy, and I was speaking to Kelly, and she said, "Do you want
Yeah.
to do this cruise beforehand?" And I just had to realistically for myself just go and do one more, and I had to
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
prove to myself. And you know what it was? It was perfectly excellent. It was just
Yeah.
a really good time. Went and did the gigs, had a perfectly good time. And if you, I feel like I did the cruises and I came out with a 2-1 record. You know, if I'm building on that, I'm still making the
Yeah.
playoffs, you know?
I mean, that's right. Like it's a 70, what is 66%. I better get the percentages right, or
Yeah.
Adam Spencer will have a listen and he'll get
No,
real mad at me. A
no.
66.6%
Yeah.
winning record will still
Yeah.
get you into the.
Yeah. You're not in the top four, but you might cause an upset. So,
That's right. You'll make it to the wild card round at the very
yeah.
least
Yeah.
and have a shot
Exactly.
at going all the way.
Yeah, you never know on the day. So, but those gigs are just not
Okay.
quite
So
for
you,
me.
yeah, all right. So we live in a world where comedians are looking at ways to how do we pay our bills?
Hmm.
It's becoming increasingly difficult for even people who have old school mainstream media jobs. Like the money isn't in television or radio, even to the same extent that it used to be. There is still money in those things, but not the money that people imagined that there used to be in those sort of places. And it hasn't been uh, replaced in most people's lives with these, like people who do well live, the very big acts who do well live in comedy or music and these sort of things can make a great living. But what you're tending to find in the rest of those performing arts is there is a big drop off between what those jobs are and the rest of the way that people are making their livings. And the cruises, for good or for ill, have become quite a substantial part of that. Certainly for, you know, a percentage of comedians who, maybe don't want to access doing a festival run every year, or
Mm,
maybe just don't want to lose the money that they might lose doing a festival run every year, and would like to bank some, more regular gigs that are not only a guaranteed paycheck at the end of them, but you know that you're performing to 700 people in a beautiful theater rather than,
mm.
700 people across 4 weeks of a run while you're flying 4 hours a day to get them into your tent sort of thing. So I think it's great that it exists. And I hope this American takeover doesn't mean that those opportunities are not
Yeah.
still there for all those Australian comedians.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that really rely on them,
Yeah.
and I find it fascinating that when you start off and you're learning your craft, you are doing a lot of free gigs and you're
Yeah.
doing stuff to get some exposure and hopefully you're getting better at the same time and you're making contacts and you're building your audience so you can get to a point where you can earn a living from live performance and then go into maybe other areas and make up that money that you gave up for free. And now we're at a period in history where if you're established, what you have to do is you have to film yourself and put all your stuff up for
Yeah.
free in
Uh-huh.
to go into areas that don't have any money anymore and hopefully find an audience so you'll get paid. It's great.
Yeah. We're buskers now.
We're buskers.
That's we're
We're
all buskers.
electronic
If
buskers.
you've ever rolled your eyes at a busker in the street, well, roll your eyes back in the opposite direction because all everyone in the world's a fucking busker now.
Yeah,
We're all just like anytime that you go by somebody with their cap out asking for money, and
yeah,
if you've ever thought I am better than them, if you're online going, subscribe to my Patreon or
yeah.
down watch my thing on YouTube for free, and I hope that we'll get. And by the way, I'm criticizing the game, not the players of the
Oh,
game.
absolutely. Yeah.
I think this is a commentary on the infrastructure of what we have allowed to happen
Yes.
rather than on the participants in that infrastructure. Because and I always hesitate even around this when I speak about this as an older comedian, is that you never want to be that person who is saying, yeah, the way that it was in my day is much better than the way it is now, because that's not even true.
Mm,
Like it's different and there are different challenges, because there are also huge advantages to, I mean, as someone who grew up dreaming of having an international career. Like if you're starting out in comedy now, the opportunities you have to start out with an international focus, to make
Mm.
something at home but know that it could be seen anywhere all over the world is a completely different canvas to paint on that you or I setting out on our journey ever imagined would be possible as a comedian. And I wonder, both in good and bad ways, how that would affect the way you even think about the comedy that you make, both the uniqueness or universality of like what it is that you're trying to do. We at the start, we only ever imagined that what we were talking about would be seen by the people who were in the room that
Yes.
we were in. And then
Yes.
maybe we might travel to another place to tell some other people about it as well. But
Yeah.
it wasn't even really recorded back in our day. The idea that you would have a comedy album or a comedy DVD or video or whatever it might have been at the time, like a TV special, was almost unheard of.
Mm.
And now we live in an era where every single comedian has their own TV, like, specials all the time and are able to publish those all the time. And so it's completely different in regard to like even the scale of what you imagine that your life or job or the way that you communicate might be. But we are all just absolutely buskers again now. Like the idea of just, you make, like, now the business model is you spend all the money making your special.
Yeah.
You find that money, you spend it all,
Yeah.
you put it out for free,
Yeah.
and hopefully,
You
if
make
you
it.
do all that,
Yeah. We'll put some advertising on your YouTube page that'll get you $1.70.
yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. No guarantee of that though.
No.
But hopefully.
Yeah.
If you could make it, put it out for free on our thing that we get revenue from,
Yeah.
go out and promote it so that people watch it,
Yeah.
then hopefully some money will trickle back down to you. That is the new model. Congratulations. Welcome.
And those things that those areas that are really bad for you intellectually and bad for you emotionally, that's where
Mm.
you have to go.
Oh yeah.
That quicksand that's on fire. If
Yeah.
you walk through there, and hopefully you won't get singed, at the end of it, you might uh, make a little bit of money.
I don't know if I will do it. And so some of these details, and feel like I can talk about it in sometimes. When we're talking, we have to talk about things if they're currently happening in vague generalities. But
Yeah,
you hope that in further conversations, people get to go, oh yeah, okay, that's what they were talking about at the time. When you
yeah,
can talk about things more fully.
yeah. People
But
keep
part
saying
of
to me, "You guys are so stoned. You never get to the specifics." It's like, no, we're straight. Being very specific.
I mean, I can't guarantee I'm always straight, but we do record very early in the morning. So anything that is stopping me from getting to the point is residual from the night before, not fresh, not fresh on the day.
Yeah. And I'm 53, so I'm barely holding on.
So somebody has asked me if I might be interested in helping them with their show
Hmm.
next year at the comedy festival. And over the years, people, sit down with me and, might pick my brains about something or run their show by me or whatever. And I have helped people over the years, but very informally. And often I find that my level of time to be able to commit to the project, but also I think my greatest value is in the first few conversations.
Right.
Like, I think I'm good at the whole, why are you doing this? What do you want to achieve with it? What are
Mm.
your dreams of it? Like, what is it that you're trying to do in this part of your world and your career, and the philosophy of it all, and the point of it all. But I've never really been the, hey, give me a call, like this joke isn't working. And I know that you have been that person in,
Mm.
with people. You've worked in a more collaborative, like official, formal directory way with some people over the years. So I've been asked by somebody if I would I consider directing their show, basically, or at least be involved in some sort of role that like would vaguely fit that title in regard to next year, and I don't really have the time is the truth,
Mm,
and maybe not even the mental capacity. And so it may just be one of those things where I talk to this person and I have these same initial conversations about like structure or storytelling or philosophy or whatever that I've had with other people, and then let it go or let it be.
mm.
Last year, I had one of those conversations with someone, or maybe not last year, maybe another year, just to keep this vague enough that nobody
Keep
gets offended if they
Mate,
ever hear
yeah,
about it.
yeah. Keep our enemies
Um,
on the outer.
Luckily, I have enough of these conversations that, like, I have a plausible deniability. It
Yeah,
could be one of 5 or 6 names that
yeah.
this story refers to. But I had a conversation with somebody and they'd asked me to be involved in a more like sort of shaping role in regard to their show, and I just did not have the time. And then I saw the show, and then I wished that I had. And so, and so, I, I'm tempted by the idea because I think there's part of me that would also like to be engaged with somebody who is in this mode of living in, like, when we talk about this idea of what the world is like now, we are talking about it from people who lived through a different world.
Hmm.
And we're reflecting on the difference between the world that we lived in and the world as it is now, whereas there are people like these performers, these younger performers, who have only ever really lived in the world as it is now and are
Hmm.
trying to wrestle with the challenges of the world as it is now. So I guess what I was asking is, like, what, from your experience of doing a role like that, what is it that you bring to the table? Do you have a set uh, amount of things that you bring to the table? Is it very dependent on the person that you're working with? What
Hmm.
is it that you find that you are? What situations do you find that you are helpful in, and what situations do you tend to keep out of? Like, any thoughts to do with that from your personal experience? Like, I know, like, for example, you've been working with Jenny Tian, like,
Yeah.
quite publicly. Like, I mean, Jenny, it was on her posters, so I
Right.
don't think that's a secret.
Yeah, 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 yeah. There's written proof.
Yeah, but
Um,
there's a bunch of other people that you have over the years. So what are your thoughts around that?
I think the first question that is one that you've already mentioned, which is asking them what they want to achieve, and then you kind of you change your game plan from there. And invariably, I think over the years, mine's been about structure and how to put things together. And then what I add to that is I invariably the uh, finding the reason an audience will care emotionally. So I think Jenny would be completely fine with me telling this story, but we met a couple of times and had fun doing gigs together. And then I was asked to direct her first show, and we in our first meeting, I said to her, what's your show about? She said, it's about me going to live my dream of being a stand-up comedian. And I literally reacted like, no, no, I'm not working on that. Nobody cares. I don't care. Nobody cares. That can be a part of it, but it has to be about something real.
Yeah.
And then we
I mean,
work,
it can even be what the story is to her,
yeah.
but it just can't be what the story is to the audience, because you
Who
can't expect them to care about that in the
who
same
gives a
way as you
shit?
care about that.
Oh, I
Yeah.
paid money to see you go. Oh, yeah, I'm having a great time. Yeah, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's like, and I've seen too many shows like that where you get to the end of it, and now I'm living my dream. It's like, great, I'm going back to work 9 to 5 and
Mm.
feed the kids and try to find a way to pay my mortgage. Anyway, we dug deep into all of her ideas, and this idea was embedded in what she had, and it was a show about her relationship with her mother, and it was great.
Mm.
And now it's something that's real that everyone can relate
Yes.
to.
Because even if they don't have your relationship with your mother, they have a relationship with some
Oh,
sort of figure or
yes.
not.
Yes.
And that And often if they don't have a relationship with that person, it's the absence of that relationship with
Yes.
that person that is definitional.
Yes. And you know, it was in there. It was in everything she
Yeah.
was talking about. And we just made that the focus. And it still
I
was
mean, to
about her.
quote John Farnham, we're all someone's daughters and we're all someone's sons.
Mate, Fancy knows.
Yeah,
Fancy
he
knows.
knew it back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
And
Ah,
daughters and sons. He was,
yeah.
Farnsey knew. Farnsey was like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all inclusive. It's fine.
Yeah. Mate, that song is I love that song was a mainstream hit, and then it was a bit like, oh, that's a bit on the nose, and now young people just they get it because it sings directly to them.
You know what I love about You're the Voice is that even being involved in the voice referendum, which
Yeah.
obviously I was supportive of, but in retrospect was not rolled out in the most effective of all manners, it turns out. And a lot of the people or things around it that, yeah, it says a lot about Australia and not in a good way.
Mm.
That the lasting damage done to the Australian voice referendum was that now people like boo during welcome to countries and they're like, it's kind of weaponized anti-indigenous sentiment.
Yeah.
But John Farnham's You're the Voice got through unscathed
Mate,
because it's just
Teflon.
such an iconic song that, like, regardless of how racist people were, they were still like, nah, still a good song though, isn't it?
Look, I think if Labor had its opportunity to go through that again, I think they should have pushed the referendum that we're going to change the lyrics of instead of Advanced Australia Fair, we're going to change it to You're the Voice. And then if you looked in the writing underneath, oh, we're also going to give the Indigenous people the proper voice that they deserve in Parliament, and
Yeah.
that put the broccoli
Everyone's
in the
like,
mashed potato,
shut
mate.
up. We don't care. We're like, You're the Voice is going to be the national anthem.
Yes.
I didn't even hear what you said yet. Not reading the rest. Yes. I've written yes in. Yeah, I do agree with that. It's one of those things where I guess what you want to do when you're working with somebody is
Mm.
to you want to, like, bring out the best in them, right? Like
Yeah.
the story it is that they want to tell. But often, and this is the thing like, I think about this in my own work all the time, which is I wish I could so dispassionately dissect my own work as I can with other people's. Like, I can love somebody as a comedian, but I
Mm.
can take a step back and go, well, just do this, this, and this, or this is why this doesn't work because of this, and this. And it's not critical. It's, well, I mean, I guess it is analytical,
Mm.
but not delivered in the same way as a doctor might deliver medical news, without the emotion attached to it, that you can
Mm.
step back and you can see something that the person who is in the eye of the storm can't see themselves. They can't see the forest for the trees, or whatever the
Yeah.
appropriate expression is, like,
Yeah.
to take that step back. And so I wish that I could do that for myself.
Oh, but it's hard. Like you did that for me this year. There was a period where I don't know if I've talked about this, but I ended up after 19 years leaving my management, which the window open, left on really good terms, still good friends with
Yeah.
all of those people, but I am now in
Seeing
charge.
seeing them possibly more now than you did while you were managed by them.
Mate, ever since I've left, they've been the best management I've had. But
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
yeah, exactly. Uh, but I think I hear from them more than you do, don't they?
Yeah. And I think everyone's happy with that.
It's worked out well. So once I took over managing myself and freelancing, I went nuts, and I just
Can I say, by the way, that because I don't think this is spoiling anything because it's such a specific joke, but people who follow comedy will know that there was a management firm called Junkyard.
oh yeah,
Junkyard, that's what they were called, right?
yeah,
And who went under. I won't go into the details of why they went under, but there was a financial mismanagement. Let's
yes,
at least, I think we can at least say that.
yeah,
And a whole bunch of artists didn't get a whole bunch of money, and
that
then
they earned,
that they had already earned.
yeah,
and or that they had been promised, and projects fell down, etc. And a whole bunch of really brilliant comedians, most of whom have now been picked up by other people. And and there will be stories that are told about that at later times, about some of the incredible work that was done by some of the more prominent or like better financed comedians behind the scenes to help out their fellow comedians. And the industry in general stepped up, but there were some specific
Yeah.
individuals who did some incredible things, which is not my story to tell, but at
It,
some stage I hope people
it
hear.
it'll come out because comedians
Yeah,
can't keep their mouths shut.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
It's just not
exactly.
our story to tell.
Yeah, it's not our story to tell, but it's a good story to be
Yeah.
told. But Sam Campbell was one of the comedians that was managed by this person. And oh my God, when I went and saw Sam's show in Sydney, there was one particular joke that was so funny where like Sam was talking about how much he loves comedy and how much he loves the Sydney Comedy Festival and Sydney comedy. And like he loved it so much that he even just did his entire last season and all the money went to charity. And this is the charity it went to. Flash up on screen the picture of the person who took all
Oh, Sam, that's so funny.
it made me laugh. One of those things where you're laughing so much harder than everybody else to the
Yeah,
point where everyone else everyone knows that there's another joke. They don't know what the other joke is, but they
yeah,
know there's another joke. It
yeah.
was it was so good. But anyway, yes. So you out on your own,
Yeah,
management
so
wise.
I just went nuts and I just started filling in gaps and booking things, etc. And and there were periods where I was filming 3 episodes of the Chase Australia a day and then going and doing gigs at night. And the scales never balance out. They have to go one, they
Mm-hmm.
move drastically before they even out. And then there was a week of gigs where, in hindsight, I was just deteriorating around the edges. And you saw the one where I finally kind of flatlined a bit. And I could feel it on stage. I felt physically tired and I couldn't change tempo. And it ended up being kind of a godsend that you were there because you could say, hey, there was this and this. You kind of mentioned some things technically, but the thing that you said to me was, that's not your tone. And I was like, oh, yeah, my tone is off. And so luckily I had a gig straight after that night, and that's what I worked on. And then the next kind of week, every gig that I did, I didn't worry about the material at all, and almost didn't prep anything. I just worked on tone and used that working the audience, found the tone again, and then subsequently all the gigs this year since then have been great. But I don't know if I would have. I might have thought it was a technical thing rather than a tone thing if you hadn't been there.
I I wonder sometimes if the myths of comedy are more dangerous than we imagine. So, one of the stories that I have over the years told, quoted, it's a legendary comedy story, which is about Chris Rock. When Chris Rock tests his jokes, you know this story, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't do them in the Chris Rock manner. He
Hmm.
goes into the New York Comedy Cellar or wherever, and he will just read the jokes in a monotone to
Hmm.
see if the jokes work by themselves before he adds the Chris Rock to it. And it's told as this story of like why Chris Rock is, still the greatest comedian and blah 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 blah. But here's the problem with that to me. And I genuinely understand that what I'm saying is like, I'm not putting myself in this conversation. This is not
Hmm.
a thing that I am saying from a basis of I think I am better than Chris Rock, because I absolutely do not. I agree that there was a point in time where Chris Rock was one of the greatest comedians of all time. But
Hmm.
if you've seen much of Chris Rock's stand up in the last couple of specials, I think it would be hard for you to argue that Chris Rock is still amongst the top sort of 5 or 10 best working comedians in the world. That's not to say he's not in that next, you know, 10 to 30 or whatever your numbers want to be. But I don't think that if you're having that conversation today, there's just a whole bunch of other names that I would put in front of Chris Rock who are working at a higher level to me. And I think that story and many of the stories that we used to tell about, like, Jerry Seinfeld going, you've got to treat stand up like a job, or Chris Rock going, you've got to do it like this or whatever, are very binary or didactic ways of looking at what stand up is. And I think now what we have come to appreciate is that stand up is much more than just the word. Sometimes the words are the least important part of it.
Oh yeah.
What about going in? You know what I would like to see Chris Rock do? Go in with no words to the club
Yeah.
and all the Chris Rock attitude.
Yeah.
Like, what if instead of writing bad jokes about Will Smith punching him,
Ugh,
he had gone into a New York comedy club the night after it happened
yes.
with all his Chris Rock energy, but just the
Uh,
rawness of spitting it off his top of his head and see what. Imagine if he'd done the opposite to what he always does.
yeah.
We like, just because somebody does something one way and it works for a bit doesn't mean it should be the way that, or it doesn't mean that, like, this idea that somehow the jokes need to work by themselves. Why?
Like why?
Why is that a thing that we think is important?
Yeah.
If the jokes work by themselves, then why do I need to get involved?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if the jokes work by themselves, sell them to someone who is better than me, who can pay a higher price for them, who's in the market to buy some jokes. Like, jokes, if the jokes just work as jokes, I would argue, what's the point of the fucking jokes? Because that's the first thing that can be replaced by AI,
Yeah.
is jokes that can just be written as jokes. Like, I think more important than ever now is the tone.
Yeah.
I think more important now ever is that you are bringing your full human self to the table.
Yeah.
And, like,
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, does that make any
Yeah.
sense, what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's
That's
not
an
like
incomplete
yeah.
thought, but that's just something that I've been thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Christopher Nolan didn't release Oppenheimer as a flip book.
Mm,
He used
right.
everything at his disposal that makes him Christopher Nolan, and he does what he does. Yeah, the it was fascinating. Chris Rock got hit by Will Smith, and the rest of the world wrote some really great stand-up about it.
Yeah.
But maybe he was too close. Like he really was too close. He got hit.
Well, I mean, also, that would have been the worst way to try those jokes.
Yes.
Because where is your personal connection to what happened? Here's what I want to know about. If I get slapped by Will Smith, I mean, we've talked about this before. It frustrates me because I guess this is where I go from before saying, ego aside, I do not consider myself to be in the same, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, and I don't.
No.
But do I think I would have a better capacity to examine that slap, that story, and turn it into a show? Do I think that if Chris Rock had rung me and said, "Hey, I want you to direct my show about this," that I would have been able to construct a better take than what he did and explore it in a more interesting way?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because he missed all the things that were interesting about it.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. You know who out of our friends I wish got hit by Will Smith and wrote a show about it? Husey.
Oh, yes.
Husey would have
And
loved
you
it.
could see it happen. Like, that's the other thing. That's not even an unrealistic premise. Like, there is absolutely a world in which, for whatever reason, Will Smith has fallen far enough that he's been invited to
To the
the
Logies.
Logies. And he's doing his bit.
Will Smith comes and smacks him one. Yeah, Will Smith's managed to squeeze an appearance on Have You Been Paying Attention and just goes up and wallops him. Husey would love it.
I mean, if that would have been the great Dave, we've talked about this before. Where is the great Dave Hughes television show? He's been one of the most iconic Australian comedians of all time, and yet there's never been the Dave Hughes show in
Yeah,
that traditional sense, in the same way that Paul Hogan had a show or whatever it might have been. And
Yeah, it should be.
I
He should
think,
have had his Everybody Loves Husey.
well, the point being that I think that Husey never stopped enough
Yeah,
to like take the time that a project like that would take to develop.
yeah,
If the Australian Seinfeld had been Husey, and I think it could have been, him in the middle of a bunch of good actors playing out these scenarios from his life, you could make a very funny show around that. I think that there is, when something happens to Husey and then Husey writes stand up about it,
yeah,
that is one of my funny, and that's what he's doing this year. He played in that celebrity AFL game,
yeah,
had his lungs punctured and his ribs broken and whatever, and now he's got a whole show basically
yeah,
about that. And I think that's classic Husey. But
yeah,
I think the perfect show for Husey would have been let's do stuff to Husey.
yeah,
So like people could write
yeah,
in with like these scenarios of like, what they'd like to see done to Husey. Because this would be great for Husey lovers and Husey haters.
yeah.
People could suggest shit that like, we want to see Husey slapped by Will Smith, and then Husey goes away and just writes stand up about what happened.
It'd be great. Yeah,
Yeah.
a cross between Jackass and Hughesy's Natural Skills. It'd be great. Yeah, and he just would have written something. He just would have called it Slapped, and it would
Yeah.
have been
Totally.
that's it. He just would have kept it really simple, and it would have been an hour of Hughesy just going, "Well, how did that happen?" and everything that comes from it.
Okay. So we've opened a few tabs, and I'm aware of the fact that you have a movie preview to go to this morning.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So
let's go.
with directing,
Yes.
so
Yes.
I almost see what I do if we're splitting hairs, like it is, I am being a director, but I also so last year I directed Jenny Tian show, and I also directed the Conversations tour.
Yeah.
Richard Fidler brought me in to work on that, and even though it's technically directing, I kind of in my head see it as amplifying. So whatever it is they're good at, I try to make it bigger and better and
Yeah.
brighter.
Because it's not your vision,
It's
it's
not my
their
vision.
vision.
Yeah. Yeah. And so sometimes there's once again, I don't think the Conversations guys would mind me talking about this, but when we were first working on the show, it was a celebration of the last couple of decades of everything that they've achieved. And there was a section in the show that was explaining how how the sausage is made, how the show is put
Mm.
together. And they were both adamant that this was an important part of the show. And and because people always ask them that. And my gut instinct was people always ask you how things are made, but that's not what they want. People ask me, how do you put together a comedy set? But what they're wanting to say was, is Husey really that guy?
Yeah.
So I made that suggestion, but they wanted to put it in, and it's their show, so let's try and make this work as much as possible. And then we did a trial show, and that was the one bit of the show that lagged, and then they came to the conclusion, oh yeah, no, this isn't working, and we took it out, and the show was better for it. But if they wanted to
And,
keep it in, I would
well,
have just tried to make it work.
the other thing is though, I think my instincts are always, if somebody asks you something all the time, trust that they will ask you it again if they need to.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the questions that you know, an audience might ask, um, you know, uh, regularly are the ones
mm,
that you don't have to cover off. Like you're like,
yes,
okay, well that's fine. Well, this will come up, as part of the conversation or as part of what we're talking about, or as a part of the show or the Q&A or whatever it might be, because it
yeah.
is. If it is such an integral part, well then okay, well that's covered anyway. It will come up.
Yeah, well, getting back to that cruise where the guy asked me about the Barbie Oppenheimer
Mm.
mushroom lady routine, my first reaction was, "Do you really want me to explain this?" And he said, "Yes." And Like I had to
Mm.
double down
Yes,
before.
yes. Okay. Well, every 15 seconds, I'll tell you another fact about Husey.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll just pepper it all the way through.
I know that you say you want this, but do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
really want this?
And so then I was watching Barbie and I realized I could do this. Did you know that Husey used to drink like 8 cans of Red Bull a day? Anyway, so then I put this. So I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And then because sometimes something isn't going to work, and
Mhm.
if the person wants to do it, you just have to go with it. And then also sometimes you might have an idea how something will work, and it doesn't mean you're right either. Like because it might be
Oh,
something that they can't,
yes.
they can't, like they get it, but they can't put it into practice. So therefore, oh well, let's pull that out because I wasn't right about that. So it's more amplifying and having a conversation.
You know, I offered, and again, this is one of those things where I'm sure the person would not mind me mentioning their name in regard to this. So, when I was in Perth during the Perth Fringe last year, I went and did the improv show there for the first time, doing a long run of it. It was the
Right.
Perth Fringe.
Yep.
And so I was still working out, what are my patterns and how do I do this every day? And I'm actually really looking forward to I'm going back to the Perth Fringe to do it again because I've now done a year of doing the show and Perth saw it as I was working it out. I love the Perth shows, but like I'll be very interested to go back specifically to Perth,
Yeah.
who've seen it like right at the start of it, and now to see how much I've developed and how much I feel like I've developed and how
Yeah.
the show has changed and those sort of things. But before me in that same room, Lawrence Mooney was like running in his, and when I say running in, like really in a development mode of what's my new show going to be. So he had this kind of theme about living in the country and whatever. But if I went in for the last half an hour before my show and just sat up the back, I would see him do night to night substantially different chunks of material, like,
Right.
in that zone of like, really,
Yeah.
here are a whole bunch of stories about my life living in the country and things that have happened to me, but I haven't necessarily found, where they're all working out. And it was great. Like, I like seeing somebody working up a show and like,
Yeah.
seeing it develop and whatever. And one night I had just an idea for how I thought like a bit might really land. And it's rare that you give someone really specific sort of like, but I was like, I just think, I just said to him, I said, I think this, and this. And I could really see it in my head, just how
Mm.
the whole bit would land and how it would come home and whatever. And I told it to him. And then the next night he did try it, but he didn't kind of do it the way that I imagined when I'd explained it to him.
Mm.
He just, I mean, he did it in his own way, right?
Yeah.
And
He
it
did
didn't
it through the
quite
prism
work.
of Mooney. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And it didn't quite work. And in my head, I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's fair. But he did give it a go. Like, I mean,
Mm.
he and and then the next night he'd gone back to whatever the other thing was. And I was like, okay, fair enough. That's like, I mean,
Yeah.
when you offer something, you don't offer it with any obligation for the person to,
No.
but it was a classic example of me being able to see something in my imagination, but clearly not being able to communicate to him
Yeah.
what it is that I saw.
Yeah.
And like his version of what it is I'd explained to him didn't work. And I can imagine if that's what he was thinking when I was talking to him, he was probably going, that's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. He keeps coming to watch. I'll throw it in. Yeah.
But he gave it a go and like, fair. But it's funny. It reminded me of, I remember at like, it was a Melbourne Comedy Festival thing, maybe the Mooseheads or a big event at the Melbourne Town Hall. And Ronnie Chang had done a set and I had an idea for a line. And I told him the line afterwards. And he just said to me, and it was one of the more, this is one of those things when this was like on Ronnie on the way up, but when you
Yeah.
knew, like, you just knew, like, these were the sort of things where you're like, he just said to me, he goes, oh, yes, that would be a good joke for you to do.
Yeah. And that's when you knew Ronnie was going to be a star because he already had a keen
Oh,
sense of who he is.
he had a good sense of that it was a me sort of joke and
Yeah.
that not a him sort of joke.
Yeah. That's
And
funny.
but not even any nod to the politeness of like, oh Yeah, okay, that's good.
Yeah,
That just like real, nah, that's not for me. And I know that's not for me.
yeah.
And was happy to deliver that because he did not consider that to be an insult in any way.
No,
He was
no,
just,
no. He was acknowledging it was a good joke
yeah.
for you.
All right. So I want to put a button on this good
Yeah.
chat.
Oh yes.
So tell me about that before we finish up.
So I'd been wanting to perform there for quite a while, and just for reasons had never been able to get there. And I was staying with Jake while I was there, and the two of us just kind of hit it off immediately. And I have to say, it is fast risen to top tier rooms in Australia. I loved it.
What is it that you loved about it?
I love how it looks. I love the way they like the way the stage looks. It's nice
Uh-huh.
in the corner. It's got that, it's got proper bricks, and kind of looks a little bit traditional in a way. The way they've set up the room where everyone's seated in cabaret style, but really close to the stage. The stage isn't too high. Um,
Yeah,
I
normally
love,
I can really hate cabaret style seating, but
yeah.
in that room they've made it work.
They've made it work. I love that they give a shit. They really give you a sense of, this is what we're looking for, this is what we need, these are the shows we've got on afterwards. If you can give us this, and I love the upstairs as well. Like the cricket was on, so I'd go in a little bit early and watch a little bit of the cricket and catch up with people and have something to eat. Even the vibe, because they run upstairs as well, so the whole vibe of the venue is a vibe that I find uh, really attractive. I wanted to kind of hang around in after I finished gigs, etc. And it was interesting. So on the Wednesday I emceed, on the Thursday I did a solo show, on Friday and Saturday I headlined before going up to Cairns on Monday. And the early on in this is the kind of room it was. Right? So I get up on stage and there's two people on my right, two people in front of me, and one on the left. And two on the right have turbans. The couple in front of me have baseball caps backwards, and there's a couple to my left, and the guy's not wearing any cap, and he doesn't have much
Uh-huh.
hair. So I went on and immediately was just so comfortable. I said, "Great looking front row. You've brought turbans, you've brought caps, and you hate so much you haven't even brought hair." And it just and I looked at him immediately and pointed to my head. I said, I feel like I can say that to you. And he just and
Yeah.
it was just that kind of vibe. Like we had
I
on the
love a moment like that too, though, where you are both like like here is a thing that is in the room. Like we're
yeah,
just starting with we're in the room.
yeah,
I acknowledge where we are.
yeah,
Here we are all together. And this is when people get a bit snobby around crowd work, and there's bad crowd work, like there's all sorts of bad comedy, but there is something nice about establishing, putting your feet on the floor, like
yeah,
feeling the grass, going, hey, here we are. But also that so effectively just grounds you in a power sense in the room, which is you are both making fun of someone. You're not afraid of talking to like people of like you've gone early on turbans, like, and
yeah,
it's Queensland. You never know, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
could just be Greg Ritchie doing one of his famous, hilarious comedy characters. So, uh, but also you've got that great bald moment, right? Where
Oh
oh,
man.
can I just tell you what happened by the way,
Oh,
which
did you
is
see
the
the
most
screen? I yeah, go on. It just
okay. So
moved, didn't it?
So, Justin,
I'll do it
what
again.
happened? Okay, so what has just happened is, oh my God. So we're on a Zoom,
Yeah,
and what Zoom must have a feature that it looks for and focuses on the face that is in
yeah,
the screen. So
yeah.
behind Justin is a giant poster of
It's
David Bowie,
a signed David Bowie poster
signed
that you bought
David
for
Bowie
me.
poster that I bought for Justin, and it is on his wall. And it's like he looks very much like a bit of it, like it's a magician style, like hand in front
Yeah,
of the face, like as if he's like, just performed some incredible trick,
yeah,
as if he was just in like now you three me, and
yeah,
it's just done a marvelous magic trick, and they've just taken a shot at the point of him doing this trick.
yeah,
So when I ever said that last thing, you laughed in a way that you went off mic and your head went off screen. So the
Yeah,
Zoom searched for
the next
what the
phase.
nearest face was. And so I just got not only you laughing, but then just a close up of David Bowie coming towards me with that magic hand
Yeah.
and then you reappearing. It was, I look, I am not stoned, but
But
now I do feel like the mushrooms just kicked in. Wow, that was a real something.
yeah, I have to be honest. I saw it just before you came on. I said, "Well," and I thought, "What's that?" And I looked, and then I
Yeah.
moved, and then I forgot to mention it to you. But anyway, what a better way to find out?
What I was going to say
So
is that
yeah,
you pointing to your, what I love is that you pointing to your hair
mm,
then puts you in this point of going, you've made fun of with him a
yes,
little,
yes,
but you are immediately saying, no, but also here's me.
yeah,
I'm going to make fun of me.
yeah,
I'm going to be the butt of the joke as much. I have power, but also I am like, I mean, there's so much just in that
yeah,
that does work in the room of going, here's who's here. Here's a big group of different people. Here's my perspective in regard to that. Like, I know you're not thinking about every single one of those things as you're doing it,
yeah.
but this is what that
This is
thing I
tone.
talk about a lot about the Steve Waugh idea of you don't have time to decide whether to play a cut shot or a pull shot when the West Indies are bowling at you. You just need to get out of your own way, to
Yeah,
trust your instincts, to say what you truly believe, to not be Chris Rock reading the jokes off the piece of paper,
yeah,
but to get out there and to actually be who's the real Chris Rock and how is Chris Rock? How do I feel in this room? Trust that if you open your mouth and say what you truly believe, that you will be able to. So much of when I'm doing the improv show of what the best stuff is me reacting to my reactions.
yeah,
Have
yeah,
a reaction and then examine your reaction. You make that joke, but then you go, but really this joke is about me and I can say that. And now here I am. And now you know a little bit. It turns out, I've made one joke and you already know a lot about this room and me.
yeah, yeah. And and it was interesting because I'd never performed there before. That was the first thing that I
Yeah.
said. And actually in my head, I was like, "Wow, you're comfortable." And it was, and all the gigs were great. The On the Saturday in the early show, there was one guy who was a piece of shit,
Oh, yeah.
and they the guys that run it gave him a little bit of rope, and he hung himself, and they got
Oh,
him
yeah.
out. They got him out of the room for the benefit of the show, and they just he was a bad guy, so they just got him out in a very surgical kind of way and allowed the rest of the show to breathe. And
Yeah, that's cool.
that's a nice thing to do. The other thing that I thought you might find interesting is so my kind of goal for next year with stand up is to write a new show slowly rather than quickly, as I have in the years in the past, just slowly build a show. And so the show that I did up in Brisbane was uh, I didn't perform my last show there, so I used pretty much the framework of that previous show and added some new material. And it was interesting that the feedback I got from some friends and some from people online was um, they they talked about uh, the new material and how it really
Mhm.
spoke to them. And it's interesting because that was such a small component. It reminded me that you don't have to jam it so it's all the same thing. You can just touch it here, touch it here, touch it here, and that's enough for people as well.
I, yeah, I agree with that. I also think that we just have to be conscious now about what it is that we personally are trying to achieve.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said about when everything is going really quickly.
yeah,
If you don't want to go really quickly, then what are the advantages? My, I mean, I don't have like necessarily a whole bunch of great like you know, I think that my work philosophies do change project to project, but
Mm.
one of the ones that I've often found is quite helpful is like just what are you trying to achieve yourself? Like while everybody else is doing one thing, if you don't want to do that thing, what is your weak why is your weakness your advantage? Like
Yeah.
could your weakness be your advantage? Could the fact that you don't want to do all this be your advantage? And
Mm.
if so, how? How would it be your advantage?
Yeah.
And going slow, what is the advantage of going slow? Well, the disadvantage is perhaps that other people move on quickly without you.
Right.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, maybe that'll happen.
Yeah.
Right. One of the disadvantages of going slow is that you could not go at all, that you
Right.
could, right? That you could stop. I
Yeah.
think that is a worry about going slow.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Is there any other worries about going slow? I
I
can't
think
really think
I think there
what,
is something where you can. I think they're the two main ones. Is that
yeah.
what you're talking about might be lost in the Zeitgeist,
Mm,
and also uh, you might lose interest in it. Like,
yeah.
when you're so trained for here's an idea and now I'm doing it, now I'm working on it for 4 months and here's my festival show, and
Mm.
am I going to be able to keep an interest in these ideas for over a year? But I
Well, I
think
mean,
that means you
I'll
have
give
to
you a
dig
real life
deeper.
example of that, which is this. So I've been thinking about this a lot recently. So I'm going to do another year of the improv show because just because I'm excited about that. Like,
Yeah,
and it's like, it's so funny because like a lot of the shows are like 25, 30% sold out already. And
right.
I'm not adding any extra shows. And, there's already management are like, but if we sell it here, we'll do it. I'm like, no, that's it. Like I'm going in deliberately with an idea of what it is that I want to do and how many I want to do and why I want to do that many. And there are myriad reasons for that. But they're all good reasons that I've thought about. And, but then after that, I guess the idea was in my head that I would then do like a touring show in 2027, like because I haven't done a big touring show, for a few years at that point.
Yeah,
But the thought that it's been in my head a little bit more recently, for again, a whole bunch of valid reasons, is that, but I don't have to.
yeah,
My manager was saying to me during the week, what year is it at the comedy festival for you next year? And I said, well, I think it's 30, but like it's 31 if you count the year before when I did like lineup shows, and it's just 30 years of doing a show. And I was like, but the truth of it is, who fucking cares? I don't care. Like,
yeah,
I mean, who cares if you've done 30 years or 29 years or 35 years or 3 years or 2 years or whatever? Like, I care about what you're doing right now, tonight, right here. What are we doing? Like, what
yeah,
are we making? And just because I've done something some way for all those years doesn't mean that I should keep doing it that way. And in fact, the more I think about it, the more I think perhaps that is absolutely the wrong way to think about the rest of it. Like it's not to devalue the way that I did it previously or not to
no,
say that it didn't work for me or whatever.
yeah,
But you don't have to keep doing things the way that you did them just because that was the way that you always did them.
yeah, yeah,
And if more slowly means more considered, so now we talk about the advantages of more slowly, which are better ideas, that the idea that your engagement or society's engagement in that issue might move on, right? We know the amount of times we've been trapped in a thought or an idea because it was zeitgeisty at the time that we created it, but now everyone's interested in it has kind of mushroom lady and good example, right?
yeah,
Like it becomes either so ubiquitous or cliched, or just the story runs out of puff that you're like, I might have this great routine, but suddenly I have this piece of infrastructure within this routine that is like making the whole thing feel clunky and old fashioned or whatever it might be because
yeah,
time has changed. Considered might be more time to think, more time to grow, more time to be creative, more time to reject an idea, to reject a good idea,
yeah,
like frequency, like and frantic, the kind of the idea of people don't remember that you did every year. They remember that you did something good,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
No,
And
no,
if
no
you
one's
take two or
walking
three
out.
years, nah,
Yeah,
no
go on.
one's. There's no
Wow, 28
reward
years
for
in,
like,
this guy's killing
yeah, that's right.
it.
You
No
don't get
one.
any credit for that.
Yeah.
What you get credit for is it good or is it not good?
Mm.
And if it's good, if it took you 2 years or 3 years, but then it's good,
Yeah.
then that's what's important.
Yeah.
How long do you need to make it good?
Yeah.
I think that should be the measurement.
Yeah.
And it's hard when we have this yearly cyclical and it involves some sacrifices and it would mean drastically rethinking the way that I go about my business to do that and that I've gone about my business for 30 years. But maybe that it's time to drastically. I've already had some breaks, COVID, you know, like this is what the show looks like when you've had time off. I mean, there is signs in my own career that it might be beneficial to me. When I did Willogical, which is like my best received like show that I've done in the modern era, like that one best show at Sydney Comedy Festival, that won that director's award in Melbourne. Like
Yeah.
it was and did well on the tally and like all sorts of things. Well, that was the first show that I had done where I'd had 2 years to
Yeah.
think about what was going to be in the show,
Yeah.
And so there's even compelling arguments in that regard that like having time to think about what your ideas are I think so often when you're doing yearly cycle, what happens is that the thoughts about your new show are really either a complete reaction to the old show, like so something completely different because you've just spent all that time, or the thoughts have been formulated in the end of the old show. So really they're just a continuation of the same thoughts and you've been stuck in the same thoughts. You
Yes.
never have time to develop new interests and hobbies and thoughts.
Yeah.
You only have time to write to order, not to like experience 1,000 things in the hope that 3 of those things will be interesting enough that like something new happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the advantage of working more slowly, taking your time,
Yeah. Marinating in ideas and just kind
Yeah.
of seeing how you
Marinating,
kind of
slow cooking.
yeah, which I hear is a meat thing.
Yeah. I
I've got
mean,
to
yeah, so you've got to go.
I've got to go.
I mean, it's 9:12 a.m.
Yeah.
and these two bloody stoners are getting
No,
shit done.
getting shit done. Look at that. Look at that. I've had my gummy. I'm ready to be very relaxed for the rest of the day. uh, well, I'll say goodbye now, and then we can speak specifically about the things that we couldn't mention by name.
Yeah. Anyway, goodbye. People can buy tickets to my show, comedy.com.au. I am touring to Adelaide, no, Perth first, Perth Fringe, Adelaide Fringe Festival at the Drama Llama. I am doing Canberra Comedy Festival. That one is the one, if you're in Canberra, it's almost half sold out that season. So like Canberra is selling very fast. Melbourne is selling very well as well. And Brisbane is mid-year next year, but about 30% of it's already sold. So
What did you
again,
say?
I am not adding other shows. So
Did you say Adelaide's already sold out?
no, Adelaide, as usual, selling fine.
Adelaide. Big shout out to my people.
As
You
usual,
just like to take your fucking time, don't you?
tickets available. Please buy some more tickets. I would just like to feel a little bit more confident that Adelaide's all going to sell out. I think it will, but
yeah, it will sell out an hour before you're about to go on stage.
Yeah, but could you just do it now? Because I'm not adding extra shows. So let's just all relax.
I've
Get it done.
I've told you about my friend who toured Wolf Mother and they sold out their whole tour in 30 minutes, and 2 weeks out and he's from Adelaide. He was like going, I guess people are coming. Anyway, it sold out. But
when Adam Spencer and I did our reunion tour, like we sold out our first Adelaide show, which is unheard of. It just sold out.
Yeah.
And everywhere else, if we did that, we added an extra show. And we did not add an extra show in Adelaide because I was like, I fucking finally won.
Yeah.
I finally got a sold out show in Adelaide. I'm not adding that extra one. So you can sell like 10% of it until like 3 minutes before the gig.
Yeah. Well, as you know, like it's tough in Adelaide. I remember my friends complaining that they were late getting home because traffic was so bad. And I said, well, what time do you normally get home? They said, just after 6. And what time do you get home? 1:15.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you go. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you to Wil for being my guest today. And make sure you check out online where you can see his show that is about to be touring all over Australia. And look, if you are a fan of Wil, you can hear how excited he is by these shows, so they are definitely worthwhile checking out. And if for some bizarre reason you've never seen Wil perform live, or specifically one of these shows, I really recommend that you go and check them out. Yes, so what can we expect for the end of this year? I have a few more recordings with guests, and I will be doing my favorites of TV, movies. You know, music and books is going to be a weird one because I'm not sure that I listen to a lot of brand new stuff from this year, so or read brand new stuff from this year. So I think that might be a mix and match. That might just be stuff that I've enjoyed listening to or watching for the first time. So I reckon that'll be a combined episode, and the movies and TV will be separate ones. The movie one's going to be tough, to be honest. There's a top tier, and I'm finding it difficult to choose between them. And it's pretty broad as well. It's going to be it's going to be tricky. It's going to be a real tricky one. But possibly the same with TV. One of the hard things is that I think Pluribus will probably be further down the list only because by the time I record, I won't have seen the end. So, like I'm sure that it would have been right at the very top. But for now, and I'm loving it, like I'm absolutely loving it. But you know, what if for some bizarre reason Vince Gilligan shits the bed and I haven't seen that ending yet? He won't. I have complete faith. I have complete faith in him and Ray Seahorn. But anyway, it's going to be tricky. So I'm going to be working on them soon and getting them out to you before the end of the year. And then I will probably have a break, take January off. I need a break. I'm pretty sure you need a break as well. We all need a break. So I will be leaning into that. Just remember, if you're interested in more of my writing, head to Substack, where you can find free stuff and a tier that suits you for membership, where you can access the memoir that I've been writing. And also, if you head over to Patreon, you can find more of the audio side of things, and you can find some film shows that I recorded at the start of the year. And then also, if you just want to watch this and you want to see Wil freak out when the camera moves, I am slowly, emphasis on slowly building a YouTube page where you can find some stuff as well. So anyway, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. And if you want to find that stuff, head to justinhamilton.com.au/stuff, or just head to justinhamilton.com.au and click on stuff. There you go. That's probably easier. Okay. I've got to get to working out these lists. So enjoy your weekend. This is coming out on a Friday. I hope you're well. And until then.